Living abroad sounded exciting until the loneliness hit harder than I expected. I honestly thought moving abroad would make me feel more alive than ever. Loneliness was the last thing I expected. What surprised me most was the real reason behind the sadness. We uncover the emotional realities and biggest mistakes people make when moving overseas, with insights drawn from The Earth Awaits, Numbeo, and livingcost.org. Watch until the end to discover the deeper reason why living abroad can feel far lonelier than anyone expects. You finally get everything you thought you wanted, and somehow you still feel empty. For so many people, moving abroad begins with a dream, a new country, a fresh start, total freedom. You imagine yourself walking through unfamiliar streets, building a new life on your own terms, finally escaping the stress, pressure, or unhappiness you left behind. It feels exciting because for the first time in a long time, life seems full of possibility again. But this is where the first mistake quietly begins. Believing freedom automatically creates happiness. A lot of people move overseas with an escape mindset, even if they don't realize it. They think distance will solve what's hurting them emotionally. Maybe they felt stuck at home, burned out, lonely, lost, or disconnected from themselves. So they assume a new environment will magically create a new version of who they are. At first, the excitement hides everything. Every cafe feels cinematic. Every train ride feels meaningful. Every moment feels like proof you made the right decision. Independence becomes romanticized. You feel proud doing everything alone. Navigating a foreign city, figuring out a new language, surviving without familiar support. It feels empowering in the beginning, but eventually the novelty fades. And when it does, many people come face to face with something unexpected. The emotional struggles they tried to outrun quietly follow them overseas. The anxiety is still there. The loneliness is still there. The uncertainty is still there, except now it exists in a place where nobody truly knows you yet. That's the part nobody talks about enough. Freedom can give you options, adventure, and reinvention. But freedom alone doesn't automatically create belonging, emotional stability, or deep human connection. In fact, freedom without connection can start feeling empty. And when you realize that, living abroad stops feeling like an endless vacation and starts feeling deeply human. Stick around and find out how constantly living like a traveler can be a source of unhappiness. The fastest way to feel alone abroad is to treat your new life like a vacation that never ends. In the beginning, constantly living like a traveler feels incredible. Every weekend becomes another adventure. You're always searching for the next hidden cafe, the next country to visit, the next photo-worthy experience. Life feels exciting because everything is unfamiliar, and unfamiliarity creates stimulation. For a while, that excitement can make you feel truly alive. You tell yourself this is exactly why you moved abroad, to break free from routine, explore the world, and collect experiences most people only dream about. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. Travel can change you in beautiful ways, but many people slowly fall into a pattern they don't notice at first. Endless novelty chasing. Instead of building a life, they stay addicted to movement. Every moment has to feel new. Every week needs another escape. And because of that, they never fully settle anywhere emotionally. Their apartment feels temporary. Their friendships feel temporary. Even their routines feel temporary. That temporary mindset quietly affects everything. You stop investing deeply in people because part of you assumes either you'll leave soon or they will. You hesitate to commit to communities, habits, or relationships because you're always thinking about what's next. And over time, you begin realizing something uncomfortable. You've been everywhere, yet you don't truly feel grounded anywhere. That's the hidden cost of never putting down roots. Human connection usually grows through consistency. Seeing the same faces, returning to familiar places, slowly building trust over time. But when every day feels temporary, it becomes hard to build real connection. And eventually, the excitement that once felt freeing can start becoming emotionally exhausting. Because deep down, people don't only crave adventure, they also crave familiarity, stability, and belonging. That's why some expats wake up one day surrounded by beautiful places, yet still feel strangely disconnected from the life they worked so hard to create. Keep watching to see what happens when you realize living abroad results to the loss of your old support system. You don't truly understand the value of home until the people who made it feel safe are suddenly far away. When people imagine moving abroad, they usually focus on what they're gaining: better opportunities, freedom, adventure, or a fresh start. What they rarely think about is what they're quietly losing at the same time. Because back home, emotional support often feels invisible. You don't notice how comforting it is to call a family member after a bad day, meet a close friend without planning weeks ahead, or simply exist around people who already understand you. Those small moments seem ordinary when they're available anytime. But once you move overseas, you realize those connections were holding your emotional world together more than you thought. At first, you believe technology will make the distance easy. Video calls, group chats, social media, it all seems manageable. But slowly, reality sets in. Different time zones make conversations harder. While you're waking up, someone you love is already asleep. Important moments get missed. Calls become shorter, replies become delayed, and then life back home keeps moving without you. Your friends start new jobs, relationships, routines, and inside jokes you're no longer part of. Family gatherings happen through screens instead of dining tables. Over time, you begin feeling emotionally out of sync with the people you care about most. Not because love disappeared, but because distance slowly changes connection. That realization can hit harder than expected. You don't realize how much emotional stability your old life gave you until it's gone. The familiar people, routines, and support systems you once took for granted were quietly giving you comfort, identity, and grounding every single day. And when those support systems disappear all at once, loneliness abroad can suddenly feel much heavier. Because sometimes the hardest part of moving overseas isn't adapting to a new country. It's grieving the version of life where support, belonging, and connection used to come naturally. Make sure to watch all the way through. You won't believe what we found to happen should you build a lifestyle around convenience instead of a community. Modern life abroad can become so convenient that you slowly stop needing other people. At first, that convenience feels like success. You move into a nice apartment, set up your routines, and finally experience the independence you always wanted. Groceries arrive with a tap. Food gets delivered in minutes. You work remotely from your room or a quiet cafe. Everything becomes efficient, smooth, and comfortable. And honestly, it feels amazing in the beginning. You tell yourself this is freedom. No stressful commute, no obligations, no depending on anyone else. Your days become optimized around ease. Wake up, work alone, order food, watch something at night, repeat. It feels peaceful because there's no drama, no pressure, and no interruptions. But over time, something subtle starts happening. Your world becomes smaller without you realizing it. You stop interacting with strangers. You stop forming routines that naturally involve other people. Even simple moments, eating meals, working, relaxing, begin happening almost entirely alone. And because modern technology makes isolation feel comfortable, it becomes easy to stay inside that cycle for months. That's the hidden danger of building a life entirely around convenience. Human connection usually happens through repeated friction, bumping into familiar faces, commuting together, sitting in the same places regularly, sharing ordinary moments with others. But when your entire lifestyle is designed to eliminate inconvenience, it can also eliminate those opportunities for connection. And loneliness rarely arrives dramatically. It builds quietly through isolated routines, through days where nobody says your name out loud, through weeks where every interaction becomes transactional. Delivery drivers, customer service chats, short conversations at checkout counters. Eventually, you realize something uncomfortable. Your life looks good on paper, but emotionally, it feels empty because a comfortable lifestyle can quietly become a disconnected lifestyle. And for many people living abroad, that realization comes late at night when the city outside feels alive. But inside the apartment, everything suddenly feels very, very still. Don't go anywhere. You would want to know what happens should you stay too long inside the expat bubble. You can be surrounded by people every weekend abroad and still feel completely alone. When many people first move overseas, the expat community feels like a lifeline. Everyone is new, everyone is searching for connection, and friendships form fast. You meet people at language exchanges, co-working spaces, cafes, parties, and travel meetups. Suddenly, your calendar feels full again. At first, it feels comforting. You're finally around people who understand the challenges of living abroad. Culture shock, homesickness, visa stress, loneliness. Conversations happen easily because everyone shares similar experiences. For a while, it feels like you found your people. But over time, something starts feeling different. Many of those friendships remain surface level. Conversations repeat themselves. Where are you from? How long are you staying? Where are you traveling next? Because so many people are constantly arriving and leaving. Relationships often stay emotionally lightweight without anyone meaning to. That constant turnover changes how people connect. You hesitate to get too attached because someone always seems to be moving away soon. One friend leaves for another country. Another goes back home. Another disappears after a few months. Eventually, you stop expecting permanence from anyone, and slowly, the emotional loneliness returns, not because you lack social interaction, but because deep connection usually requires stability, vulnerability, and time. It takes consistency to build trust, shared history, and emotional safety. But inside many expat circles, life can feel emotionally temporary. This is where I realized I knew a lot of people, but didn't truly feel connected. That realization hits harder than expected because from the outside, your life still looks social and exciting. Photos, dinners, weekend trips, conversations everywhere. But internally, something still feels missing because knowing people isn't the same as feeling known. And for many expats, the hardest part isn't making friends abroad. It's finding relationships that feel deep enough to truly call home. Find out why mistaking isolation for peace can turn the smile on your face to a frown. At first, the silence feels healing until one day it starts feeling lonely instead. After moving abroad, many people become obsessed with finding peace. And honestly, that makes sense. Maybe life back home felt overwhelming, noisy, emotionally draining, or constantly stressful. So when they finally arrive somewhere calmer, it feels like they can breathe again for the first time in years. The slower mornings feel comforting. The quiet lifestyle feels healthier. There's less pressure, fewer obligations, fewer people demanding your attention. You spend more time alone, and at first, that solitude feels incredibly freeing. Your nervous system relaxes. Your stress levels drop. Life becomes simpler. And for a while, it genuinely feels like healing. But slowly, something begins changing underneath the surface. Without realizing it, you begin creating emotional distance from people. You stop replying as quickly. You stop reaching out first. You spend more time protecting your peace than building connection. Days become quieter, then weeks, then entire routines start happening almost completely alone. And because nothing feels dramatically wrong, it's easy to miss what's happening emotionally. That's why this kind of loneliness can feel confusing. You're not surrounded by chaos anymore. You're not exhausted all the time. In fact, Your life may actually look healthier than before, but deep inside, something still feels emotionally empty. Because sometimes what feels peaceful at first slowly turns into emotional disconnection. Human beings need rest, but they also need closeness. They need conversations that go beyond small talk. They need shared experiences, emotional vulnerability, and the feeling of being understood by someone else. But when peace becomes isolation, life can start feeling emotionally flat without you fully noticing it. And eventually, many people abroad realize they didn't just escape stress, they accidentally disconnected themselves from the very relationships that make life feel warm, alive, and meaningful in the first place. You'll want to see what happens should you fail to build purpose alongside your freedom living abroad. Freedom means very little when your life no longer feels meaningful. For many people living abroad, the dream starts with freedom. Freedom to work from anywhere. Freedom to travel whenever you want. Freedom to wake up without the pressure, expectations, or routines that once made life feel suffocating. At first, it feels incredible. Your days become fully yours again. No one tells you where to be. No one controls your schedule. You can reinvent yourself completely. And honestly, that level of independence can feel addictive in the beginning. But eventually, freedom without direction creates a different kind of emptiness. Days start blending together. You wake up late, work a little, scroll online, maybe explore the city, then repeat the same routine tomorrow. There's no structure pulling you forward, no deeper mission grounding your life emotionally. That's when drifting routines quietly begin taking over. And the strange thing is, nothing looks obviously wrong from the outside. You're living in a beautiful place. You have flexibility. You escape the life you once wanted to leave behind. But internally, something starts feeling emotionally hollow. Because human beings don't just need freedom. They need purpose. They need goals that feel meaningful beyond temporary pleasure or convenience. They need communities, responsibilities, creative passions, relationships, and reasons to emotionally invest in the future. Without those things, even the most exciting lifestyle can slowly begin feeling empty. At some point, I realized I built freedom, but not belonging. That realization changed everything for me. I stopped asking whether a country was exciting enough and started asking whether my life there felt emotionally sustainable. I stopped chasing constant escape and started paying attention to connection, routine, purpose, and the people around me. That's when I realized living abroad wasn't making me lonely. The way I was living abroad was, and that completely changed how I think about expat life. What I revealed to be the primary reason that living abroad can feel so lonely may be something that's farthest from your mind. Sometimes the loneliest place in the world is not where you move to, but how you move there. When people first arrive abroad, it rarely feels lonely at the beginning. Everything is new, exciting, and full of possibility. But slowly, something shifts beneath the surface. It's not because the country is bad, but because many Americans focus on escaping their old life instead of intentionally building a new one. Freedom without roots, adventure without community, comfort without purpose. The people who thrive abroad aren't just building a lifestyle, they're building connection, structure, and meaning. And in that quiet gap between expectation and reality, loneliness begins to settle in slowly, not loudly, because moving abroad doesn't automatically create belonging. It only changes the scenery. You can wake up in a beautiful city and still feel invisible if no one knows your story. That is why intention matters more than geography. To avoid expat loneliness, there are 3 things I'd prioritize should I live abroad again. First, I'd build community intentionally, not wait for connection to happen naturally. Because in a new country, people are often kind but busy, friendly but already full. If you don't step forward, days can quietly turn into isolation without you even noticing. Second, I'd create routine immediately. Same cafe, same gym, same walking route, same familiar faces. And third, I'd focus on belonging, not just freedom. It's easy to get caught up in the thrill of independence, of being anywhere you want, but freedom without depth eventually feels hollow. Deeper relationships matter more than new scenery. The best expat lives aren't built around escaping loneliness. They're built around creating meaningful connection. The truth is that loneliness abroad is often a design problem rather than a location problem. Living abroad can absolutely change your life, but freedom alone isn't enough. You must also choose connection over isolation every single day. Freedom without intention becomes distance instead of growth. Connection is the real destination here. Check out our other videos where we explore the real, unfiltered, day-to-day experience of long-term expats who turned a foreign place into something they call home.